buildings up and going and getting some use out of them, and now would be a really good time when we have people in place that are new to where instead of just going off old habits, they're going with the correct procedure.
Well, the reason I bring it up is that AB's facilities and insurance representative will come in and survey the area and point out safety issues,
Right.
problems, change those so it keeps premiums down.
Right, and that's one thing that insurance vendor offers to us.
Okay.
So, and it's free of charge, and they have sent me newsletters, and in that I have sent those out to our maintenance staff about wearing protective clothing, protective eyewear,
Right.
and even so much as like we have some maintenance guys that needed protective eyewear but
Right.
in corrective lenses,
That
and we
also
are paying for those because it's more cost effective to prevent accidents than it is to pay for accidents.
Amen. Yeah.
And so, and I was on a safety committee while I worked with DOC, and we try to help look at where they occurred and why they occurred, and then what we can do to prevent those, if anything.
Okay.
And then at that point, if there were something that we could do, we put that measure in place.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
So that's kind of where we are on that issue of Kimmy. Roberts, we already took care of that about a month ago at the student insurance. So we went over that. Our Liberty Mutual, that is something that went down.
Kim,
Yes, I'm sorry.
we only have just a couple of minutes.
Okay. Let's do this. We'll pick this up where we left off. Okay. All right.
Got it.
Because they only have 15
Okay.
That's
That's
fine.
fine.
That's fine.
Okay.
Hello, everybody.
Well, you guys.
Hey,
I'm Andrea Argita.
I'm Anthony Margita. Welcome to CentreWorks. Good to
It's
see
a
you.
pleasure here. We see familiar faces. Hello, everybody. We're the founders of CenterWorks and the directors. We had the pleasure of meeting with Dr. Ross a week ago,
About a week
More or
ago,
less.
something.
very recently. And so we are thrilled that he wanted to come up here and have a look here for the meeting. And he asked us to just give a little brief overview of what we're all about and why we hope that we'll be seeing you and the students in your district much more often.
Okay, so just a little bit about who we are. Besides being very new to Danville, we've been here a year living in Danville. We've been developing and putting everything in place for CentreWorks for the last 2 years. Andrea and I have a history in innovation. We've worked in entrepreneurship and innovation programs in corporations and nonprofits and for-profits for all our careers. For the last 17 years, some of the processes that we're putting in place for CentreWorks, we've worked with those over that course of time when we started our consulting operation, which is CentreWorks. CentreWorks TechGrid. That's our business. And in that past 17 years, we've worked with cities and communities and universities and colleges and corporations to create innovation environments for them. And so we put some of that into play here. We met with over 200 people a couple of years ago during the pandemic to design what CentreWorks has become today. And from that, we were able to customize programs that fit pretty well into what's most of value to this community, and putting Center College and community together, working together to achieve some objectives, which our overall mission is to build an intentionally inclusive, resilient community. That's what it's all about. So we do that by a methodology that includes two main things.
So first off is the way we look at things, the characteristics that combined are what we call the entrepreneurial mindset. I'm sure it looks really familiar to a lot of people. It's a growth mindset. It's crucial, really, to have these characteristics to intentionally practice them in order to be innovative, open-minded, and ready to take on new challenges. Anthony likes to say it's what you put on when you are able to put yourself into the game instead of sitting back and saying, oh, I don't know about that, I don't know how to do that. If you intentionally practice these characteristics, that's what helps you have that ability to get in there and feel you can make a difference, be part of the things that matter to you.
So we teach our students and all our community members that these are things they're easy to become acquainted with in terms of what those are: curiosity, grit, perseverance. Empathy takes a little time to understand really how that all works, but embracing ambiguity. All those things you can get your arms around and is what they need, but it's being able to consciously turn those on and put them into play when you see an opportunity, when you see a challenge, and make that happen. So everything we do, our community members working together with center students to take on many challenges. This is part one of what the formula is and the methodology is for tackling it. Part two of that equation is our innovation process. And we teach everyone that they can become innovators. And you don't have to be Einstein to create innovation and make things happen. And you do that by using a form of design thinking which we call the human-centered approach to innovation. And you do this by involving the people you want to serve. People you're serving. Have them be a part of every step of the problem-solving process. Starting with listening to understand, defining the problem, brainstorming, creating solutions, and then refining them and putting them into play. All of those, if you're tapping into the people you're serving, you put yourself in a great position to develop a value proposition that's meaningful.
So all of our programs are designed around the mindset and then the human-centered approach. Remember, it starts with empathy, which we define as listening to understand and appreciate. It's what we used. We use this process to design CentreWorks. And the really great thing about it is that you always keep practicing that empathy, so you're always listening to understand what matters to the people you want to serve. So we're always tuned in. We have a number of programs here. Again, this is part of everything we do. We are an accelerator. So if somebody asks you, what the heck is CentreWorks? We're an accelerator, meaning we work with what we call emerging entrepreneurs. Those are people from around the region who want to try to build something, start something. They're not the college students, okay? They're community members. But we put college students in the mix who work alongside them. We also are an incubator, so when companies reach a certain level, they can incubate here, increase their chances of success. And we are a co-working space. So that means people can get memberships, they can come up here for the day, just get a day pass and come work, or they can, 6 months, a year, and have a work environment, have access to entrepreneur advice, and have some really fast Wi-Fi and all the tech that goes with it. We've had a number of events up here as well. Remember, we're working to build this inclusive community. So community-wide events. We want to see all of you come to those events. You can learn about them on social media. And a lot of them we've invited high school kids to as well. So we'd really like to get more students in here, get them more involved. And that's about it. Do you have any questions for us? We know you have a lot to cover.
Well, I would really like to make the connection with the city and how you all brought me here to think about things from a bigger scale and to hopefully incorporate our board, our school system.
Sure. So we have been thrilled to be able to work closely with the city. The city first approached us to work with them regarding the big changes coming downtown. So we all know that things are going to shift. And people were less than happy when they learned some of these things. And so the city came to us and said, can you help? And we said, well, we can put this process into place. So we're going to back up a little and start with the people you want to serve. So you may see our students, we have 3 center students who have these really, this fabulous opportunity to intern and work for the city of Danville with regard to navigating downtown Danville. And so they are out pounding the pavement and asking people to sit and they want to listen to you and have an empathy interview, understand what matters to you when it comes to downtown Danville. That was our first collaboration, and now we're moving things along. Do you want to come up?
Yeah, we had to. I'm Earl Copley, I'm the city manager. Some of you I know, some of you that know a long time, some of you I've met before. Been here several years now, got 20 plus. Not in this role. But so we are in this transition, society is in this transition. We're going from really, my generation's kind of in the middle right now, stuck. And so as we're transitioning, for us, we look at our economy locally, we look at our population growth and all these demands. And what we see is that we have a workforce issue just like everybody else in the world right now, it seems like, right? And for us, when we go through the math, we need 1,500, 2,000 people to move here or to enter the workforce that's currently not in it. And so a big piece of that is our youth, and you all play a significant role in that. Another side of that, though, is what do we do here? What's that workforce do? And for us, we look at the traditional, not factory jobs, but industrial and those types of facilities where you have this mass employer, whether it be the hospital or Dina or Mega, right? We look at those opportunities, but that's very limiting, but that doesn't solve all the service issues we have in a community where you're looking at a full service community. We have jobs, we have homes, we have medical care, we have education. So we're a full service community. So when you have that, there's pieces of your economy, but then we're also regional. We have a significant footprint that comes to Danville to interact or to get services, like at the hospital. And so when you have that, one of the red flags we saw when the city worked on Whisker Park, we didn't identify any local contractors to work on it. We couldn't find any. The person I always refer to, the pergola, the wooden structure, we had a company out of Liberty come in and bring that up. And for us, that was a significant red flag. And so part of what we have to do as a community is we have to raise a generation that understands it's okay to start a business. It's okay to envision yourself in a different role, right? And I talked to Dr. Ross about my personal experience. I'm from the mountains, and when I went to UK, I had mountain dialect, and so they kind of washed me out. And so for me, as a youth, I don't really care what your background is. There are smarter kids than we give them credit for, right? There are kids in the Danville school system that can play a really important role in the community of Danville long term. And so what I want you all, my takeaway my thing I would like you all to take away is to understand what our perspective is of the school system, how critical that is for our community to be sustainable. It's not just about taking care of the building at Hogsett, making sure that's renovated. It's not just about, finding. We want to keep we're graduating 400 kids in the county a year, plus or minus, right? We need to keep some of them here, right? But so then therefore we need to figure out how to tell them that there's an opportunity here. Danville, we're doing the streetscape so that they feel enticed to think, man, this is a cool town to live in, not just a place where I grow up and it looks awesome. So we want all those things, and you all play a critical role in that equation. We want to create a pipeline for kids into the private sector. We want interns we want the high school kids as they're transitioning into their next phase of life to see an opportunity to be plugged in with an internship down at, an IT business here in town, or whatever business that is. We have to do that if we're going to be competitive in the future. As the demand for jobs is too high. the corridor from Louisville down to Bowling Green, there's $15 billion in construction going in there, right? We have to take steps now to be in front of that development so that we don't lose our people that we need here into that footprint, right? So there's a lot of activity, a lot of critical importance the school has, and we know you all are thinking about that. We would encourage you to think about that. We're leaning into these folks because this facility is a piece of that. It's a stepping stone from the school to the public sector, right? To the private sector, I mean, right? This can be a piece, a bridge builder. So,
Can I add something to that?
yeah, feel free.
Is that, so what Andrea was saying, we're an accelerator, incubator, co-working space. What we didn't say is that there are community initiatives that feed into the activity that's going on. We call those community collaboration groups. And these are challenges, more or less, brought to us by the community for CentreWorks to address alongside the community. Those have included access to fresh foods. We're working on one with affordable housing now. We're also, and a third one is this urban landscape that we're teaming up with the city on. And the one that Earl's talking about right now is creating this pathway for our students of all ages in this community and connecting them with opportunities that are going to be present for them, making that connection, and that builds a stronger community and brings opportunity to all of your students and students of other schools and the college and BCTC as well. So the initiative, if you will, is taking the CentreWorks human-centered approach to innovation and going through that process, talking to people and understanding people on the student level and on the demand side level and the school and administrative level to go through that problem-solving process. We're going to involve students from Danville High School to help define this by working with us to go through this process. Students from many schools are going to do that. But the idea is through this design process that we can put together pathways for students to meet opportunity, build community, make it stronger, and keep students here as well.
Some years ago, the late Mayor David Henson complained that Danville suffered a brain drain problem. So what you trying to do is stop the brain drain.
Have to.
So people have the opportunity to stay. And we're seeing, you know, we started 2 years ago, right? And we started, that first year was virtual. But we're already seeing students stay who would have left for jobs elsewhere. White students.
I'm one of those who left.
A lot of people leave. So as long as you have that chance, you know, if you have a chance to stay and to be able to see and seize opportunity, you have the skill set to do that. That's good.
Yeah, we get so caught up in dealing with what's right in front of us, but we have somewhere we have to go, right?
Look at the future.
And that is a long game, not one that we're going to win this year.
No.
So there's things, yes, we're trying to fight to survive everything we do, but listen, we've got to raise a generation to infill all the jobs, because I go ahead and tell you, the pressure I feel just in terms of man hours a day, I can work nonstop, because we're 20 years ago we had Danny Sells, and we don't have him now. So who's operating those backups? Nobody. They're parked, right? So that's anecdotal, but that's real evidence. And a lot of times when we're in a meeting, I can ask, so, we can be here and I'll ask, what were you doing 20 years ago? Were you working or were you?
Yeah, I was in the aerospace industry in Florida.
Right, now you're retired, fair point.
For the
most, you do a lot of volunteer work. But that point is exactly my point.
Yeah,
we have a generation that's aging out of the workforce because it's time for you to take a break.
Yeah.
Well, who's going to backfill that job?
That's right. Yeah.
So we can't lose any of our students, any of them.
Yeah, we have a brain workforce.
We're not just trying to process them. We need to help them understand our future, our community's future, Kentucky's future is tied together.
So what I was hoping today, because I know we've got to get to business, but just to let the board hear, because it's also exciting. I mean, it's an exciting opportunity for our students, and we can create, as we have them define their genius or their career path, they may realize, this college to career readiness, college and career readiness, you may have a career just like that. So I think this is a great segue into next steps for us, and I think it's an exciting opportunity all around the board.
I want us to be energized and be proud, and let's, there's a lot to do. And so, yeah, part of what I do is try to give a rah-rah speech. I talked about Danville schools. When I go to a football game, I don't want to just come in and go to the bleachers and sit down. I want to feel like I'm coming to my team, And so like every little piece that we do to build pride in our community, to build pride in our school system, to build pride in our logo, this is my kids bought me this shirt for Father's Day, so I wore it today. But normally I would have the Danville shirt on because I want people to identify and people to understand that we're proud of what we're doing, right? Same thing, all of us. We've got to do it. It takes every one of us to get it. It's a heavy lift, and it's long-term.
Yep.
But I want to point out one more thing to talk about getting people excited. Think about this. Think about students being pulled in from the start where someone sits down and wants to listen to them to understand what matters to them. When you approach a problem with this process, you pull people in right from the beginning, like they matter right from the start. So you're building that community. You're showing that you really do care about the students and this broader community. And one more thing, I have yet to see a student or a young person or anyone walk through those doors who doesn't take a moment and say, wow, I didn't know we had this in Danville. So show it off to these high school kids. Let them have a chance to come up here and experience a really state-of-the-art space that you don't find in a lot of small towns or big cities even. So, yeah.
We want our kids to think and be aware that there are things out there that maybe they don't see. And we want to teach our kids in our minds that somebody's got to repaint this, somebody's got to build this, somebody's got to put this together, somebody's got to help integrate the new CT machine down at the hospital. Who's doing that? Right? What company is doing that? Could be one of our students in 5 years, 10 years. Right? It's important. Critical.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you guys.
We're going to leave our business cards here as well. You're welcome to take those, and we just hope it's the beginning of a conversation that we continue to dialogue and collaborate on. So, pleasure. I didn't get everybody's name. Could we just hear everybody's name?
Glenn Ball.
Steve Becker.
Esther Julia. Kim Huddleston.
Jennifer
Greg Ross.
Susan Paget.
Okay.
Olivia Moore.
Okay. Pleasure to meet you all.
Thank you so
Okay.
much.
Take care.
Thanks, guys.
Let us know.
Really appreciate it.
So I want to show you guys there's bleachers from Thompson in one of these rooms over here that they took and repurposed. And so you have a little meeting room with Thompson sold bleachers. It's really cool. Walk it over there, yeah. I think it's like right next door. Yeah, it's kind of, I don't know.
So, yeah, they reclaimed a lot of things in the community. I do see the importance of a connection. These guys really aren't here promoting center, they're here promoting the community. But we also need to give the alternative that there is a need for such a workforce in all levels.
Mm-hmm.
I know going through renovation in my house, I'm lucky to have the same person show up. It's frightening. But anyways, thank you for having them here, Dr. Ross. And I think hopefully we can build a relationship where maybe they can come into our schools and work with some of our staff on how to put this together. Does anybody else have any comments or questions? Okay. So we'll go back to item 3. I guess, Kim, bottom line is, what was the last one where it says revised quote? Is that the same, Kimmy?
That he had sent that incorrect amount. It was actually higher to get the first time around,
Okay.
and then he sent a revision to that. And so, on this little spreadsheet that I put together for us, if we go back up, we'll see that the just general insurance, which includes fleet, general liability, equipment, property, and then it has an umbrella insurance that kind of covers those miscellaneous things. You can look at the different rates, because those are all priced separately within one policy, so we can add, subtract as needed. The fleet actually went down, which we had a van that we had a rental on due to COVID. We had that on there, so we lost one of our, wasn't our property, but we had an insurance for us. So we lost that off of there. And then some of the aging on our buses and everything, the cost of that has just went down. Now, if you really look to see what's going on here, umbrella went up a little bit and general liability went up. But our buildings, we have 2 new ones that are getting older, and we still have problems with them even though they're new. And then we have 2 older ones that are getting older, which we still have problems with. And so all those things together ended up to where we had a slight decrease in overall insurance cost. That included the general insurance, workman's comp, and the student accident insurance, and that was about $300.
Well, a decrease is a decrease.
A decrease, I'll take it any day.
So does anybody else have any comments or questions or concerns? You have this very well covered. Thank you very much
You're welcome.
for that. So I guess what we'd like to do, I know we need to get this approved from the board. So we need a motion, please.
We approve of property, fleet, general liability, educational liability, and taking line for workers.
Second that.
Okay, so we have a motion for the approval of fleet, general liability, educator, legal liability, Kimmy for the workers' comp. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Okay, thank you all. All right. I went on and asked Susan to put on the minutes from the last meeting because we probably weren't going to be meeting until mid-July, and I didn't want to wait that long for the approval. So we need to get a motion on that, please.
I make a motion to approve the June 13th, 2022 meeting minutes.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second for the approval of the June 13th meeting minutes as presented. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Okay. All right, so we've already gone through the CentreWorks introduction, and that was very informative for us. The one thing on here, Superintendent Evaluation, we actually will go over all of that in executive session because it's very nice that we can do the evaluation and start the process in a closed meeting, and we can do that throughout the year. So it just eases up the process. You know, we may change our mind on some things. And, so this way we have a lot of flexibility on that. So I guess let's go down to, and this is what Dr. Ross needs to hear, what I need to hear, all of us need to hear. What are any immediate concerns of the board? So this is time if you. It could be in general, or it could be, do we have major concerns about our academics? Do we have major concerns about relationship building that maybe is not happening? Or do we have, so I mean, this is an opportunity, you open up the table. So, Jennifer, do you want to start?
Sure, I mean, I think it's pretty clear that we have some equity issues with our academics. I'm hopeful that we'll see that change. I think building rapport and building community within our district is really important at the moment. Yeah, and get folks back behind the school.
So just based on what you said, when I met with them, one thing that was really hard to swallow is, especially with the city manager, Mr. Coffey, is a lot of things that I've been told, Dan wouldn't have a seat at the table, Dan wouldn't do this, Dan will not. When I met with him, and it's happened in several meetings I've been in, we did have a voice, and that voice either refused to participate or kind of said it's not a good time for us. And like, for example, just one example, the Junior Rogers building, and I was told about the preschool daycare, the preschool situation that Boyle County's actively involved with. And, you know, he showed me examples where meetings have been set up, but then basically it was said that it was just a bad time for Danville Public Schools this time again. Whereas when I came in, I was told that we didn't have a seat at the table, we didn't have a voice. So I think what you're saying about building that community rapport is so important right now, and communicating with the community, let them know not only do we want to see at the table, we welcome any input and, you know, any growth opportunity. So I'm glad that you said that, because it's been like every time I walk into a meeting with a community partner or a stakeholder, fucking in a box meeting, just taking rib shots based on what I was told, and it not even being the case. Or if it's not the case, it's more to that story than what was said. Which,
Okay, Esther, do you have?
I was just thinking about Mayor Mike's comment about, during one of our board meetings, about BCTC and how there was a wall up between us and BCTC, and that was the first I ever heard anything about BCTC or any issues. So it just triggered a memory of that conversation about BCTC and how, I mean, that they're right across, I mean, they're right down there.
but the good news is that we've got to be scheduled.
Yeah, good. Yeah, sorry, it just triggered a memory. I'm like, yeah, I mean, you're right on track. That's what we need. That's definitely what we need to discuss. And your other concern about academics, which I feel like we're in the right direction, but that's on my top 30 is academics and our concerns with that.
July the 1st has not gotten me yet. Yet, Dr. Ross, you have already hit the ground running, involving all the various aspects of this community to make the school system better. I didn't see that in the last administration. So it's welcome to see that you're reaching out to try to find out what didn't work, go get it working. And what I'm seeing is a proactive approach rather than a reactive approach. I've always been against being reactive in something. Because usually react to fight. And a lot of people get hurt. But when you're proactive, you go look for what it takes. What ingredients are needed to make the cake not only pretty, but nice to eat and taste. And I appreciate that. Because you're already reaching out to folks. And another thing that I have learned in years past, everybody's not going to go to college. So BCTC is important. Now, I was back at August last year, I was asked to teach in Taylor County. Centerworks Career Academy. I thought I was going to be there for 2-3 weeks. I was there from September to mid-December in an aviation program. And basically my background is in 1960. And so I also got into drone operations, teach students about drones, and I had to go to the airport and see things out there to real with their eyes. So I showed them that a plumber, an electrician, a roofer is just as important as a professor teaching kids real math. And kids go, my son told me when he was junior high school, Dad, I don't want to go to college. For 31 years, he's been an HVAC technician, and he's making mid-50s. So the other career paths go. And what and I see what you're doing, you putting kids not in that direction, but in all directions. That's where we need to go. So I'm thankful and blessed that you're going that way, including us in all this process, because there were some times when the board was excluded by design.
No, and it's just, I mean, bringing up the airport, there's just Danville's, we are so diverse in everything we can do. I mean, we have an amazing college, we have, you know, a technical college, we have an airport. Like, why aren't we utilizing these resources? I mean, and we're a small town, and we don't have to go to, we know each other. So we're not hitting, you know, obstacles over, you know, on our way there. We can just talk to the person directly. You know, if we want to talk to the president of Center, I'm sure he, you know, lives 2 blocks away, he'd probably show up at his door. So we have all of these resources, like, possibilities are endless. And so it's great. I mean, I don't know, I'm just excited. I'm excited about all this. It'll be nice. I think we're in the right direction.
You know, I want you guys to know as I'm making communication with different entities and groups, by no means am I assuming that previous administration did anything wrong, or it was just the conversation was not there. The opportunity to, the next step never occurred, which in a lot of people's minds makes it as if we did not want the next step. And I think that's a scary thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it really creates barriers for our kids. Like I was talking to the lady at the Center for Arts for the Bluegrass, is that correct? And she was just telling me how, you know, although from a talent perspective, the best talent came from Danville in the schools, but support came from Boyle. And like if they had a student night showcasing art, no Danville students and families would come. You know, it was all Boyle, both were invited. And then she gave me example after example. Like we did a play, no one showed up. And it was a play for Danville. And you know, so we just got to make sure, and I don't think it's a matter of us, of parents not wanting to. I think it's almost a matter of our communication or our ability to inform and just let them feel involved, feel a part of it. So, but you know, the good news is that when we create those opportunities, it just really will advance the culture overall. Another example, and this is, you know, and I will get off my soapbox, but this June is an important month in culture. Just in culture, it's an important month. You know, it's whether we agree with it, whether we disagree with it, we can create allyship, you know, for Pride Month. You know, and it's important for us as a school district to just acknowledge. We ain't got to say, I agree with Pride. We don't have to say that. But to say, your kids are safe with us. That's all we got to say.
Yeah.
You know, it's...
And they do feel like that.
Yeah.
Our kids feel safer expressing who they are at school in a lot of cases than they do at home.
Yeah. And definitely from what I've been told, definitely in Danville, independent, they're doing more. You know?
Oh, yeah.
So, you know, we need to celebrate that. Juneteenth, we have a very high diverse population. You know, we should be saying something just to say we celebrate this. And I appreciate you all, Steve, being available and making that happen so quickly. I really do appreciate that. You know, even small things like, you know, Black Music Month. I mean, just, you know, just letting our community know that we are we do see them. I think it's important.
Well, if you're getting the word out, I've always felt this way. Church involvement is very important. There's enough churches around here that can really get the entire community. From across the tracks of Danville Baptist, all the way out here to Maine, you got some churches.
Yeah. So I reached out to the churches, especially the black community. Pastor Briscoe, he lost his father. So we were supposed to connect last week, and obviously that didn't happen.
Right.
But we want to connect soon.
Okay.
I am meeting with Mr. Hughes this Thursday.
Michael Hughes?
Yes, sir.
Danville, Ball County, African Historical Society. Oh gosh, he can help me out a lot. He's the one who told me about this place. Yeah, he's got a lot of information about the history in this community. A lot.
Well, we're in extraordinary times, which is positive. And we need to truly take advantage of it. I don't know how we're going to put all this together, but as a board team, it's vital that whatever we're going to do, we're going to do it now. So I think it's part of every time we have a meeting, we need to be discussing community, either events or things that we can be involved in much more in our community. We need to have a situation where we will pay for administrators to be part of Rotary, Kiwanis, civic groups that might have a cost of being a member of, but along with that membership, we expect them to be there. So you don't want to pay for a membership and then all of a sudden, you know, you're paying $145 every 3 months and they don't go. So it's not effective if you're going to have these memberships in these clubs if we have no representation there.
What's the representation in the clubs?
Do what?
I mean, like,
Do people come out and go?
Here's my question, Tom, be just real about it. Are these white people?
Well, generally yes, but the point of this, that shouldn't make any difference if they're white people.
I mean, I feel like that's important, but I think in addition to.
But I think that we have to have a presence no matter what.
Just for the sake of the administrators, because I know a lot of them are swamped, I would really appreciate allowing me to take that leap first, and then as we build trust and relationship, if it's something that they choose to do, then we can say, hey, and we will also find a way to, allow your membership in it as well. Pay for your cover your membership. But I don't want them to feel that they have to jump because there is a time.
Where it is.
Yeah, well, it can also just be, like, if my work offers volunteer hours, like I can, instead of like using my vacation time, I have volunteer hours where I can go out and volunteer and just do it as my PTO. So I don't know if that, instead of just saying, here's some membership fees, but here's some volunteer hours for you to like, go out into the community during working hours, that, it's on us. And,
Well, all the activities that happen at the airport, I'm always got to fly in, fly a whole lot of kids, and with the opportunity, I take the opportunity to show kids that job at the airport, in aviation, they can be involved in. Because we have one of the biggest presses in medical airbag at that airport.
Yeah.
There are 5 helicopters based out there, and we're in the process of building $3 million facilities for them.
I have to go see that.
Yeah, so we're doing good. So I'm actually involved in aviation activities where Earl Coffin and I talk about that a lot. So I got that good.
I'm sorry, Jennifer.
You're good. I was just thinking that, like, I don't know. It doesn't matter. Like, if people want to go to Rotary and all that, that's totally fine. I think my point is more that, like, we shouldn't assign what community organizations our administrators are part of. So I kind of like the idea of them being able to find a place to volunteer in the community and to use their hours for that. But if they still want to go to Rotary, we
Right,
have to
right.
support that kind of thing too.
No, and I agree with that. I just think we need to give our folks opportunities to volunteer things that have nothing to do with our school system. Because if Dr. Ross is at a habitat situation to where we can volunteer some hours
To build a house.
to build a house or whatever it might be, you know, there are other opportunities, and then so they're going to say, oh, Dr. Ross, he's from the Danville schools, or this person, or this person. It's not that we're out there preaching the Danville schools, but we're there showing that we care.
We're inclusive.
So I think those opportunities we should have. I had a very distressful conversation with a Danville alum, 4th generation, that basically just told me the other night, we were up at Lowe's, and he said, as far as I'm concerned, Danville schools aren't even needed in this community. And I thought, this is a guy I have known for 25 years, and who was a part of the Danville schools. And he's basically just given up on us. And so I told him, I said, I'm going to call you. We're going to sit down and I'm going to pick your brain, and I want you to tell me why you feel that way. I said, here in the drywall aisle is not the proper place to do that. So, but I do have his number, and I'm going to make that happen. And also, I'd like to do that with Dr. Ross, so that he gets a perspective of this person that's been, like I said, basically a 4th generation Danville alum, and why they're there, and why is that happening. So, I mean, are we looking at things purely because the community looks at it, okay, a person's contract was not renewed. Okay, so does that set the tone for the rest of the Danville schools for the rest of its existence because something like that happened? Is it an academic problem? Are we not doing enough academically for all of our kids? And that's something that we need to get real honest about. And then also, guys, you got to remember, it's not just the board. We got to have buy-in from our teachers. We have to have the same concern that this community has about the Danville schools, but it's got to come from the level of those who teach our kids. And it's not a criticism, it's reality today.
Can I speak to that a little bit?
Sure.
So I think a lot of that also is, you know, because as the head goes, so goes the body. And we have to be honest that especially a lot of the veteran teachers in the last, 6 to 8 years have had a lot of different leadership in the head. So they have lost some confidence. But, I think and I don't think it'll take more than a year. I think within a year or two, we will see that resurgence of excitement and empowerment by just celebrating our teachers, celebrating our schools, the heads celebrating and making them feel confident in the professional development they're receiving, the support they're being given, the consistency across all schools, being given the best product to be successful. I think that will change the communication that comes from our teachers, and so I do think, I'm not saying it's an easy fix, I'm thinking it is a quicker fix than a lot of things, just because as the head, we show them that we truly believe in them, we're invested in them, and our strength, we recognize them as our strength in this district. That conversation will change some.
It's interesting that how school districts survive. And the number one thing are students in the seats. If you don't have the enrollment, you can't sustain a school district. So I look at the idea of adding 200 students to our roles. That's almost $1 million. And you can't always base it on money, but you have to have that reality of how important it is to keep that student, to keep that family from not going to another school district. And right now, there's nothing to stop it. With House Bill 563, it's open door. The only thing they limited in there was athletics. So it's not going to be that easy for a student to live in Danville, go to Mercer County and participate in something over there in athletics. But point being is, if that's of no interest to that family, there's nothing that's going to stop that.
Our win is diversity. That's our win. And you know, I was looking at, because when they opened it, I started looking at districts of our size that are competing with other districts. And there's a situation where there's a school district outside of Tulsa that was known, very similar situation, it was known for football. Like they have more pro athletes in this little town. I can't remember, Jinx, Oklahoma. More pro athletes in this little town than some entire states. But they sit right outside of Tulsa. They had a couple tough football years, some administration years went south, and they opened county lines, like similar to what Kentucky's done. And they saw exodus. And then once they got into administration, they talked to the Chamber of Commerce, they talked to business owners, and all they did was celebrated some few things. But they went on billboards, like they went on a full campaign. And very little of it came from the district funds. You know, they found people that grew up there, that, you know, business people that would just say, hey, can you sponsor us a billboard for a month? You know, we'll do all the design work, we'll get it up. And I mean, you talk about Titletown, success for all, boom, coming down, you know, diversity lives here, boom, coming down. I mean, like literally. And we're in this perfect spot when you think about all the connected cities that may not feel, you know, people in these local areas that may not, in driving distance. What's crazy, Lexington is driving distance. I mean, you know, because I do it every day at this point. I'm thinking, man, I'm closer here than I was to my job in Louisville. Like, it's literally like when I lived in Louisville, it's closer. You know, so it's just how we rethink things. Well, we could put up, you think, 4 or 5 billboards just around the area and get, you know, and another that's real big right now is YouTube. Kids love YouTube. My son quotes commercials off of YouTube. And it's, you throw a 30-minute ad on YouTube, and it's not the parents that seeing it, the kids are seeing it.
When you talk about billboard, you come across that viaduct on the left-hand side, there's a big billboard right there before you get to the end of the viaduct. That's a prime, you know what I'm talking about, Kim?
I do, I'm there every day.
That's a prime example of putting something right there. So if you don't, everybody don't see it, everybody comes that way.
Well, and at some point, if we're going to go back to that, which we, at one point, years ago, we were doing billboards. Those things are usually booked up, can be 2 years in advance. But if we don't get on the cycle,
right,
then we'll never get up there. Also, we got to know what the cost is. It's very expensive to do billboard advertising, but it doesn't mean you have to do it all the time. So,
and it doesn't need to be signage. It doesn't necessarily even have to be billboards. Just signage.
you know, I've seen it here where some of the athletic teams will put a sign in the front yard of the parents and say, Danville football team member or soccer or whatever it might be. And I think sometimes identifying that alone is a simple thing to do that can be done throughout the year. So I guess what I'm looking at is we're at a time to where it's just more than money. It's what can we do to bring those students in or keep them here. Right now, our goal should be we need to keep every student in our district.
And teachers.
And well, you know what?
And good teachers.
And, well, teachers leave for a lot of reasons. They just do. You know, I get this every day. We're losing all these teachers. We're losing all these teachers. And I look at other districts around us, well, they're losing teachers too. And I'm not saying that we can't do a better job of relating to our teachers or whatever, and I think we do. But the point of it is, a lot of folks leave for a lot of reasons.
Yeah.
You know, the spouse could be transferred. There could be a death in the family. There could just be they're tired of teaching. You know, when I get asked constantly about people, they've told me they're going to retire and then we're going to lose them. Oh, my Lord, if you've taught 38 years in a school district and you want to retire, then you're going to be criticized? There's something wrong here.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just saying that, you know, we need to do relationship building not only with our community, but we've got to develop better relationships with the folks that we have in our district. And I don't know if Glenn remembers this, but I had pushed that, I had asked for that, I mean, constantly had asked for that we come up with a relationship building program that made a difference, and it was just totally met with resistance. And you know, those things can be done for very little money. So, my immediate, I see it as concerns academics, I see community relations, I see retention of our students and retention of our staff, our faculty, and also I see that we need to develop relationship building so that you may not agree, but there's really a great way that you can do it respectfully. And like I said, there are going to be things that are going to come up, we're not going to agree. But that doesn't mean we still can't be decent and basically still like each other. So, and I think that's something that we need to put a plan, get a plan put together, and if we need to get help doing that, well then we need to seek the help to get it done. That's just me. And I'm not one who likes to spend money.
Well, I think before we spend money, it helps just to build relationships.
Yeah.
And that's where we are right now. We're just taking time, building relationships, creating cross communication, and I'm telling you, it's catching on like wildfire. Just being able. When I went to Center last week, within a couple of days, I got a communication from the president, about what we can do, and because one thing that I would really like to do, I would really like to build relationships where, a lot of these areas that eat up a lot of what would be taxable land, like Center and the hospitals, and I would like to get to the point where they valued us so much that they donated something or sponsored something.
I've always felt like that. I've always felt that way.
But we got to build a relationship first. We can't expect them to come and, donate or give when they don't know what we really stand for, who we really are. So I think, and you talk about the academic portion, a lot of our parents are Center employees, are hospital employees. So once they see and take pride in what they're seeing from the product of our students, that's going to really create that funnel. So I agree wholeheartedly. There definitely has to be a communication and relationship plan. I just don't know if it's something we need to spend money on this yet, because that's one thing that I have really fussed about for years. And I'm a consultant. I've done consulting work for many years, but you get a consultant in to facilitate something or to provide surveys and data and and then what?
Mm-hmm.
They walk away 40 grand richer and you're still in the same spot. And I think I was looking at data from our equity survey. Oh, it's horrible. Our diversity, equity, inclusion, I was like, oh my gosh, this is really not good. But the reality of it though is that what have we done about it? It's like, what what have we done to cultivate change, and but that costs. I'm sure Dr. Cleveland ain't coming for free. So and I don't know how much it costs, but I know that he does quality work. I know that his assessments are very thorough. So I'm sure it came with a nice chunk. So what I'm saying is I just really think that we can do this, and I will put some communication and relationship building plans. I'll send some to you all for you to look at, and we can go from there. And if you guys think you want to take that step, another step further, as a board, that's on you. I just don't think that's something I think we should give relationship a try first.
Okay.
Well, and this board and others always look for the direction from the superintendent. So I can't imagine that this board would say, okay, we're going to hire this consultant and you not even have a say in it. That would not happen. But point being is your abilities and leadership things are, I mean, that's what we need. So if community, relationship, I mean, more than community, we got to have better relationship, as you know, among all of our folks in the Danville schools.
Yeah.
And, I mean, that's parents, students, teachers, maintenance, everybody.
Right.
And I think we'll see significant gains just because of that effort.
Well, I'll just say, I have heard from multiple people already. Dr. Ross showed us this thing. Dr. Ross was at the ball game. Dr. Ross was at the show. Dr. came to play. There are teachers in the high school who put early numbers in the play, and we came to the play. So I think part of what you're doing right now is that building, and I'd love to see, and this is something I thought about a long time ago when I first came on the team. Not that long ago when I first came to the book. But then I went ahead and made one for myself, but a name tag that I can wear when I go to any community events that has my name on a board, being a school board member, and I would love for all of us to have something like that.
That's a very good thing.
But in addition to that,
I was gonna say, I'm really bad about that though. I'm like I'll show up, but I'm like I don't want to bring attention to myself. I'm just like,
well, but you're
here.
not, but you're bringing it in.
But let me
Yeah,
tell you how
right.
crazy this is. And I shared it with Ms. Moore just because it was so amazing to me. I went to this bubble party that they were having.
Yes.
Yeah. So a family came up to me and we were just talking, and I was asking about the kids and one grade teacher, and the mom, it was a biracial couple. The mom says to me, she said, you know, it's so funny that you're here because we just committed to sending our kids to BOE next year. The senior year, they're definitely going back to high school next year. Just that quick. You know, it was just all it took. Well, no, but it was just them seeing that someone cared enough to talk to them and their kids, have a conversation, and to know that we're okay. We're in a good place.
Right.
They didn't have anything bad to say about the school. It was all based on what someone else had said or someone else was doing. But when they saw that they had a connection, you know, it was okay. You know, so I just think we got to just work and build a relationship right now. And that communication piece, one thing that has frustrated me the most about Danville is that everyone creates their own narrative, yet we don't have a truth to defeat it or support it. You know, and like that's why it was so important for me to at least start off with you all with the newsletter. What is Greg Ross doing? But you know, now I need to do the same thing with the administrators, with our families, you know, because they don't know. We don't sell our story. We don't put out. Yeah, they see what, you know, everyone now has a Instagram or Facebook or Twitter. They see those. That's just a snippet. They need to know with confidence. This is who we are. This is what we're doing. This is you know, this is when, like, I don't even know. I was going to work on this the other day, and I went to look at things like when is back to school badge, when is kindergarten registration. You know, just the normal things as a principal that I would be thinking about. I don't know where I couldn't find it. And obviously the building shut down. Okay, so I didn't have anybody to ask. So I'm sure I can go across the hall and ask Miss Sally, she would tell me just like that. I'm sure she did. But I just, as someone that is new, I have no clue. So how are these parents feeling right now?
Okay,
You know?
I see Communications, what you're saying. You get it out there.
Yes, sir, we do.
If you get it out there, they don't read that stuff, that's on them, not us.
And the
We
thing
did.
is that we can literally create a newsletter, go to Infinite Campus with a push of a button, send it to every family in the district,
Yes,
just like that.
yeah, you're right.
We do have one that we get during the school year,
Mm.
right? I mean, it goes out like every week, right? Because I have like 4 emails, and I get it on every email.
Oh, really?
Which is great.
Well, that's good to hear.
But
That's
I
good to hear.
Well, and I also think, I mean, it's not 100% on you to
No,
like,
right,
this
right.
community, and so I'd love to see our board go forward and map out a plan of like, hey, here's all of our teams, and here's all of our blah, blah, blah. Can we commit to at least one of us making it to one event for all of these things? So that like, when Mr. Ball shows up at my kid's soccer game, she's gonna be like, what is Mr. Ball doing in here? I'm like, he's here to support the Danville schools.
Yeah.
So I think, you know, something as simple as that.
Well, I go to basketball games and football games. Now, one year was 3 years ago.
already.
3 years ago, when the football coach was doing a Bay High School recognition night.
Yeah.
So what the Bay High School alumni did, which I did, we got to the Kentucky State University band up there.
That's right. You know?
Remember that?
That's
Oh, I got that band up here, and Lord, I had 2 students that are going down there because of that band coming up here. That can still happen, because the process is already been established.
And you know, you mentioned like us being visible. I know that we have, because Wade mentioned tonight, the board meeting, an equity committee. So if I could just have clarity of who's on that committee. But I was even thinking like, you know, if we create opportunities for teachers and community members to be part of committees, like for example, I know this year, for Teacher Appreciation Week, our teachers got a pair of socks. And I'm just thinking about what took place in my school building this year. If the teacher would have gave, if the principal was somebody would have given her socks, I probably would have thrown back at her. Come on, man. Are you serious right now? So that's not okay. So, I mean, if it's socks inside of a mug, it's inside of a, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, so we're putting together a teacher appreciation committee that is really wrapped around just getting donations. I mean, a Harvey's gift card right now, or gift card to, what's the place?
Pioneer Playhouse.
I mean, like really just a committee put together, so when we do have Teacher Appreciation Week, we have, or, you know, we have some good things for them consistently. Another thing that's heavily needed, a student voice committee. You know, or, you know, just get some student leaders, probably, you know, looking at 3rd grade and up, but student leaders to have a voice across the board, especially on the high school level. I mean, I'm sure, you know, it's like your daughter's part of that state student voice committee, and I heard Commissioner talking about it last week at a meeting, or 2 weeks ago, at a meeting, and just how empowering it was, and the information they got from that was very powerful. So, you know, I just think we have to think about what committees we could allow the community to feel invested in and really create some sense of
If you get some of the parents on,
connection.
get some parents on those committees, it's crazy the ideas they may come up with.
Oh, yeah.
That we never thought about. Because I was teaching in Bible study down in Orlando, and I said, now I have ideas for the kids, but I'm gonna hear what the kids want to say. And so I listened to the kids. So one thing what we come up with was a retreat on Memorial Day weekend. Meet at church on a Friday, we didn't get back at home until Monday. The kids didn't have no phones, no nothing, they just had a good time out there. And one of the best things we had a session where we just let them talk, and we just listened.
But then we got
loaded up.
you know, you get you talk to folks like the couple that runs this building, and let them have a student helper to participate with each committee. I mean, goodness, there's no telling what all could come from that.
That's true, because they do have ideas, and their ideas are good.
Yeah.
I agree.
Okay, let's move on to Dr. Ross wanted a chance to reintroduce his 30, 60, 90-day plan, which I'll be honest, I told him, to be honest, I haven't looked at it since before we are. So.
Sorry guys, I'm not gonna do those.
Kim, is this your phone number?
Maybe.
Yes or no?
I don't know.
276-25-2110?
That's it. Should I be expecting you to call me later?
No.
Since now it's on Western Kentucky.
I'm too sad out too.
Yeah.
Well, I'm Paul, sir. And that's all I know for.
I'll have to say my number though later.
Okay.
All right, guys, so,
Okay, the presentation's up here on the.
and I won't take long. I did make a paper copy, guys, in case you all wanted to,
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks.
So, and I'm just going to go through the goals and just talk through the high points, so for the sake of time. So here are the goals, the 5 goals that I put in. Goal 1 is establishing a collaborative, positive, productive working relationship with you all. Goal 2 is to learn about the current instructional practices, initiatives, and guidance programs throughout the district. Goal 3, establish trust and confidence through open and honest communication and positive relationships among stakeholder groups. Goal 4, ensure district-wide fiscal and overall organizational health. Goal 5, establish a supportive, positive district climate and culture to implement the district's vision. So I'm going to go through each one and just touch on some high points, and if you have any questions or comments after each one, just let me know. So goal 1, establishing collaborative, positive, productive working relationship with the board. So objective 1 is to work collaboratively with the board in developing a cohesive and effective governance team to ensure the academic, social, and emotional growth of all students. And I think just today has been empowering. I've met with each of you and had conversation around what's important to you, what's important with the district, your passion and your concerns regarding where you would like to see the district go. And I think us talking about those next steps, like Mr. Becker mentioning how we're going to create a communication plan. Mr. Ceteri talking about, the importance of instruction and diversity. Us looking at those different areas and maximizing those is going to be a great thing. And creating an actionable item, an action step to ensure it continues. Identify and implement effective communication practices and protocols from the board superintendent. And my goal is that twice a month, I want to give you guys the superintendent newsletter, the anchor, just so you all can see what I'm doing. It's a long time between board meetings. It could be a long time, and you guys can always call me. And I know I've been able to meet with Mr. Becker at least 3 times now. So but in between those times, I'm going to keep that going, so you all know what I'm doing. And I'm not just sitting in the office twiddling my thumbs.
When you do, let me know. I'd like to do it with you.
Learn about the current, go to is learn about the current instructional practice, initiatives, and guidance program. This is probably, obviously, our goal is to assure that every child reaches the academic success and are getting the best instruction possible. So this is my heavy lift right now. I'm looking right now at the RTI plan. It's concerning to me. it's like every time I get into something, and I just want to say, I don't think it's anyone's fault. I don't want you to think when I say it's concerning someone's not doing what they're supposed to do. That's not what I'm saying. I think it's a lot of leaders that have had different ideas, and it's all just kind of gotten jumbled. You know, for example, the purpose of data, I mean, we create data to hopefully make instructional decisions. That's why you have data. In this district, it's impossible. The reason it's impossible is because everybody has different data. I mean, if I go to Hodgson, I got different data than I was than Tyler. If I go to Tyler, it's different than Bank. Like, nothing is lateral, so I can't look at data systemically and say, oh yeah, I can see that this is what happened. I can see the trajectory of the student. Everybody's data is different.
Okay.
Instructional practices, different. What? Coaching practices, different. So we have, but again, kind of like the communication thing, it's really an easy fix. I know it sounds crazy, but whenever you have structures and processes in place, people go, oh, that's the structure, let's do it. And it just aligns. Now, don't get me wrong, you still have to have quality student engaging structures, but it's not a super hard fix. So that's a good thing. And that pretty much sums up everything. And I'm jumping kind of to the fiscal one because in order to do this, though, we have to make some changes. So I appreciate you guys approving the teacher and leader, but I want to talk to the fiscal piece just for a minute. For those two positions, one of those positions will with the being that we no longer have the teacher that is online, that position will kind of remove the other. It kind of fits out the other. And my guarantee to you all is that this time next year, we will not have 2 additional positions. If anything, we'll have less positions than we do right now. And that's my guarantee to you all. Okay? I do want to clarify that, and I think it's so important for you all, because I know that is, one of the first questions you all asked me was about fiscal management. And I don't want you all to think that I don't take them into consideration. However, I know what it's going to take for us to fix our instructional concerns, and we've got to do that. That is the why behind everything we do. Establish trust and confidence through an open, honest communication, possible relationship among stakeholder groups. And this has been so much fun, but also so heavy for me, because it's almost like when I go to so many groups and so many people, they're so excited to see me, but it's almost as if along the way we let them down. You know, it's this feeling like, you know, I love Danville, but this is, and they can give me so many examples, you know, and you can tell like they're rooting for us, you know, but we have let them down in some ways, and just that commitment that they once saw and how they want to see that that come back. And you know, especially now that a lot of the people that are in these positions, their kids are now grown. So they were folks who had kids in school, kids that are extremely well in Danville Independent School, and then all of a sudden they see where Danville is now, like, but it wasn't like that, you know, 15, 20 years ago. So anyway, although it's a heavy thing, it's also a beautiful thing, because I know that we can fix that by just creating that open lines of communication, showing that initial investment, putting our best foot forward.
Can I just get real quick? 2/3 of our staff are not children in Danville schools.
Yeah.
I mean, that is something that's very important to know. They always say, know your customer. Well, we know our parents. We know a lot about them. But it's like me, I don't have kids in the Danville schools, not anymore. And we have many out there of the elderly or retired or whatever it might be, that their stake in the Danville schools is no longer there. So we have a whole nother process of trying to prove to these folks that what they're giving to the community as far as us, property tax wise, is a good investment.
Yeah,
And you hate to put it that way, but
that's the reality of it.
it's a reality all over the state. It's ROI, return on investment.
Right.
So this all comes into that.
And I'm glad you mentioned that because that's my, on my personal goal board that I have is to change Danville from being, because if you Google Danville, what comes up? One of the #1 retirement spots in the nation, not Kentucky, one of the #1 retirement spots in the nation. So my goal through what I can control, through my circle of control, is to make it where Danville is seen as one of the #1 spots for new families. And he mentioned the workforce today. So outside of employment, what's the next thing the new families look at? Schools.
Right.
So we gotta show them that this is an innovative, creative space. I look at schools like Eminence and Superintendent Bug. Are you all familiar with that guy?
Oh, yeah.
Eminence is nothing there. Let's just put it out there. There's nothing there. But they've got a school where there's a slide going down to get to 2nd grade. And, yeah, I mean, like it is a creative, innovative space, and the teachers are doing some really cool stuff. And he's really, it didn't happen overnight. He's been there now for probably 8 or 10 years, but he's created such a very good community of learning and excitement that it's a powerful thing. So this is my, and even like this whole professional collaboration for professional association and labor groups, I really want to create, I was talking to Mr. Lumen about how we can create this whole, what was the word they used back in the day, but it's a mentorship. But when you had a trade, you had to go do, what was that?
Apprenticeships.
Yeah, where, guys can really,
Shadow somebody else.
yes. And maybe college is not their bag, but they can go out at 18, 19 years old and make 20 plus, 30 bucks an hour, because he mentioned that whole thing about, when I was talking to him, Mr. Coffee mentioned that there was a gentleman that had a business here that when they had potholes, he'd just take his, materials out, fill all the potholes, send the city a bill. Then that guy's gone, and there's no one taking. How can no one? Like really, there's no one.
Yeah.
I almost got a call with one of my brothers, like, hey bro, you got a backhoe, you want to start a business here? Literally, it's an opportunity.
Yeah.
So we can teach our kids how to do that,
Oh boy.
Okay, so is that not an option to do an apprenticeship or an internship or some sort of something through that program? I don't know how that works.
Around the school super, as far as I know about it, I don't know much about it, is that you have to have the credit room to be able to do that. So some of our students who are not academic high achievers who could really benefit from something like this, I think might be limited by what they can do because they don't have that room, they don't have flexibility in credits. So
Literally, that means that because what happens is at the moment where your senior year, you literally leave half the day and go work. Yeah, you have to be able to, it's like, So that also means like you already got all your 4 English years, your 3 maths, you got all the things you do to graduate.
And Danville used to do this, the high school used to do this, and I don't think they've done it in the last few, maybe don't know, I'm not sure. But they would have this like, it's either 1 or 2 weeks. I think they call it winter term or center.
Intermission is what it's usually called.
They might be, but it was like 1 or 2 weeks, and that was the point of those 1 or 2 weeks, was for students to go out and do internships in the community. And I think it's been abandoned.
Well, it was, and it stopped with COVID.
Okay, you loud, but we know you're there.
And then obviously, the last one is just talking about continuous improvement efforts to enhance advocacy for the district's vision and mission. And that's something I'm still wrapping my head around is the district's vision and mission. Man, it's long. It's a lot. It's very wordy, but it's another subject. Fiscal and overall organizational health, determine where we are, where we need to go. I do appreciate Ms. Holston being very patient with me, and also Dr. Thomas, and just walking me through some of this stuff. Understand current organizational systems and structures, increase personal knowledge of the district's budget and financial portfolio, establish a strong focused district leadership team. And that's really something that we have some great folks working in central office. Unfortunately, though, they're all fairly new to their roles in central office. You know, Ms. Holston, you know, she's worked in finance, but she's only been there now for, what, a year or so? Less than? 11 months. You know, we have Mr. Dunn. He's only been there, you know, about a year. Obviously, our special ed director is just taking the role, but she does have the background, so that's a good thing. Mm-hmm. And then, you know, our DPP, he's probably the most senior in his role. But it's very young team, so just creating that background knowledge and confidence in what we're doing, especially when you look at some of the decisions we have to make coming up. Like, we've got to talk about bait at some point, and all the needs and concerns of getting bait where it needs to be. You know, for all the history that bait has, it shouldn't look like a prison. It shouldn't. It should look. I mean, we should, with the historical value alone, people should come in to Danville and be like, now that's bait. Like, you know, it just pop out and just look like a place of excellence and prestige and honor. And right now, we're not there. The best thing about bait is it's got all those amazing fields behind it, and that's not okay. You know, bait should look. So we got to figure that out. And the good news is that in meeting with the Bear Group, right? Yeah. There's the resources to do it, and we still have Mr. Thomas to provide us some guidance in that area, because obviously it's new for me too. I do have some great allies and resources from Fayette County. Mr. Rodney Jackson and Myron Thompson, they both have built so many buildings in the last, just since I've been in Fayette County, they built 4 buildings. And they do it well, and they know the financial side and the construction side. And by no means am I saying we need to build buildings, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that I need to understand that process of what it takes to pay those things and look at those bonds and all that kind of stuff. So that's a growth area for me.
Okay. That's my alma mater, so if I can help you out, let me know.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Glenn's gonna write that check.
Yeah.
I think $9 million will be a good start.
No, I'll make it 12.
Why start small?
Don't go big or don't go at all.
Speaking of swimming pool, I was told that there was once a swimming pool in that building across from the board office.
There was. Central office had a swimming pool in it.
You show me the swimming pool?
Yeah, I'll show it to you. I will show it to you.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I went to that building today just to get an idea of what that building looked like. And you talking about an equity issue? That is 100% football. That's not okay. That is not okay. But we'll get to that another time. But I mean, if China Ryan came in here, they would rip us in shreds.
Well, they have been there, but it's always been an issue. You know, it seems like they don't go any further. Well, anyways, we'll address that.
Yeah.
With you.
But it is a very cool space.
It is.
And we could do some great things with it.
Amen.
Establish a supportive, positive district climate and culture to implement district vision. And this is another, behind instruction, this is probably my next big one. And we're in such a place where people want to point a finger. You know, it's almost as if there's anything wrong, I need to blame this person for it. And then on top of that, we're at a place where people are on, they only see what they want. So it's almost like we can't have a good academic program and have a good football program. Or we can't have a good forensics team and have a good art team. It's like, what happened to the idea of Danville being great as a whole? And we've got to get back there. We've got to get people celebrating each other across sports, across arts, across, even if it's esports or whatever it may be, across clubs and organizations. We've got to get to the point where we are celebrating each other. And again, to me, that is a leadership thing. As the head goes, so goes the body. Communicate with parents and encourage positive partnerships on behalf of students. Establish and maintain connections with political leadership in the city and county in order to establish clear lines of communication, advocacy, and support for the district students. And I've got to say that district leaders have been very good to me, very patient with me, and I feel really good about the relationships that I've built in such a short time. Now, don't get me wrong, I know that they got their political views as well and things that they want to accomplish, but as long as they are treating me in a bipartisan way and doing what's best for our kiddos, I don't care what their affiliations are. You do what you got to do. So entry plan, at the back of the pamphlet you'll see a timeline, and I've been really sticking to that timeline pretty heavily. The next big thing that I could really use y'all's help with is creating the community conversations, or I know Mr. Briscoe, Pastor Briscoe, I'm sorry, is going to help me with one. So that will at least give you one where I know the African American community would feel comfortable going to his church. I hope to have one with at the Bluegrass Center for the Arts, Bluegrass Arts Center. I think that would be a nice environment to have one. But if you guys have access, strangely enough, I haven't really heard much from white churches. Because whether you like it or not, churches is where a lot of people, will go to. That's where they feel comfortable having those conversations. And I really have not, and I sent out an email to just like a bunch of churches, and I haven't heard back from anybody but Pastor Briscoe.
I don't know which church it is. It's really close to Onset, but they're the ones that are.
Calvary Baptist is pretty proactive.
Yeah, they
They got a young minister down there.
Yeah, they sponsor the back to school bash at
You were telling me about that.
Yeah, Calvary Baptist is a good one.
What about the big church when you come in?
One day we were out this past week.
Oh, okay. What about the one big church when you first come into, come off of
Lexington Avenue Christian, First Christian.
That's the one right up there on the,
Yeah.
that's not the one I meant, but I was talking about the big old church, but First Christian, is that a good one to contact? Okay. First Christian is that massive church when you first come in. Okay, what about the one before I make the left turn to come into down? The big old church, when I get off 27, I turn onto what, the 34?
Oh, I know you had Baptist church out there before you get the left turn at the light.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know so.
Is that, do we not have much relation with them?
The sign?
Yeah, big massive sign, the electric sign. Well, it doesn't matter to me. I'm just trying to figure out where the kids go.
Oh, you had a Methodist church on Gravel Road. Seminary, yeah. What about Lexington Avenue? Yeah, that'd be a good one too.
They do a lot as well. They do a lot. They support the trustees and.
Yeah.
What's the start? I got Calvary Baptist, First Christian, Seminary United Methodist, and Lexington Avenue.
Well, I can get you into Catholic.
You give me the Catholic.
St. Peter and Paul.
St. Peter and Paul. St. Peter and Paul. the general corrective also. I can work well close Dr. Bristol, and I work with St. JDME and the Secretary Christian Church. Get those and the Baptist. I went down. So we get a couple.
Okay.
You got my number anyway, don't you?
I do.
Okay.
All right, I do want to show this video because, and I will say before I show it, at the end there is because the other version of this video was kind of racy.
Close your eyes.
Not that racy. They just making connections. But this one was not as racy. But at the end of it, they do have a thing where they say we're all God's children. So, this one.
Okay.
It's so easy to place people in boxes, drawing lines, creating signs. There's us, and there's them. Those we feel comfortable around, and those we don't. There are those of us with many chapters, and those just starting their own stories. There's the well-to-do, and those doing what they can. There are those we share something with, and those we don't seem to share anything with.
Welcome, and thank you for coming today, guys. Today I'm going to be conducting an experiment where I'll ask you a series of questions. Now, these questions will be very personal questions, and for us to get a true result, I need you to be completely honest with how you respond. The first question I have is, who in here was the class clown? Who is never on time?
And then there's us. We who have tattoos. We who feel lonely. We who have been bullied. We who have bullied others. We who are madly in love. We who have overcome great adversity. And there's the lucky ones whose team won the championship this year. We who beat cancer. And then there's all of us who are created in the
So when I saw that, obviously, it hit me for a lot of reasons, but I think the biggest thing about it that just made me realize how important this video is the fact that right now as Danville, we all feel so isolated, at least from my perspective. As a new person in Danville, we feel so isolated. And I think we just found ways to understand each person's story and just create that allyship of understanding where we may not, be all in with every part of what you do or who you are, but we, as a family member of this Danville body, as a family member, we're together, we're going to support, we're going to protect, and we're going to grow together. There's a lot of forgiveness that has to take place in a lot of areas. And I'm not trying to bring up, previous situations, but I even met with the former football coach, Mr. Clevenger, and was listening to his story. And I know there's 1,000 sides to it, but the bottom line is, as a bishop, we could have handled that better. And he deserves to be told, you know what? We're sorry, man. That didn't go okay. That was not all okay. We got to own some of that and take it. And from that standpoint, we can create some healing. We can empower him to be able to move forward, empower our bishop to be able to move forward and see where the best fit is for everybody. But I just think as a bishop, when we get to that place where we can just say, you know what, we're choosing to accept each person, each group for who they are, as they are, and grow together, celebrating everyone's differences, celebrating everyone's geniuses. And to me, like when I think about, I mentioned earlier that our power is in our diversity. We ask ourselves, well, what is diversity? Diversity are all those experiences that you have that are worth celebrating. There could be some bad experiences, but you made it. That's worth celebrating. There could be some phenomenal experiences. There could be some things that you can teach others. But we are going to take the opportunity to celebrate all those things that make you who you are. And in doing so, it creates an equitable mindset that is inclusive. So anyway, that's all I have. And if you guys have any questions regarding the entry plan or any next steps, I'll welcome it and we'll go from there.
Great, thank you so much.
It's a start. It's some goals to shoot for.
Yes, sir.
So when you got goals, you can look at and go for them. You have a purpose.
Okay, we are at about 6:50. I'm going to ask that we take about a 5-7 minute break. Restrooms are around this way here.
We'll go out the window.
Yeah, well, don't do that, man. We don't want to. It needs to be important for us and for Dr. Ross. It's board member relationship, and also how do we do things? What's the approach? So when I met with Greg, we talked, and I told him up front, I said, I will never, ever put you in a position where if I hear something out there concerning whatever is going on, that he's going to be the first person to call or talk to about the situation. And I think it's imperative that has to be upfront with all of us. To him.
He's going to be blindsided by anything.
And he also said to me that he would make sure that the board would not be blindsided also. So I think as long as we're all in agreement with that,
oh yeah, I agree.
Then I think that's good. I think another thing we need to be aware of, and as you all know, we will have staff people call us. There was an era going on where administrators were told do not talk to board members.
Yep.
Fact. That was a fact, because I saw it written on the board at the central office. Boy, was I angry. So, I do think that can be handled, but it needs to be handled in a way that you tell them up front, have you talked to your superior? Have you talked to your principal? Have you talked to whoever? Your maintenance supervisor?
Have you gone through the process?
And if you haven't, you need to do that. And then you need to do that first. But they won't listen to me. They won't even let me in their office. There's always these things that come up that they won't. A lot of this is they want you or us to fight their battle. So I think that, we just all need to be in agreement that if it's an administrator, a teacher, whoever, staff member, that we just have to be totally upfront with them and just say that you need to assure me you've talked to your superiors, your direct supervisors. And if that doesn't work, then I need to let you know. We may have this conversation, but I cannot make you any promises. I cannot fix the situation. I'm willing to listen, but I also will tell you that Dr. Ross will know exactly what our conversation was about. And I think that's only fair.
Yeah, I agree.
So, and I know it puts folks in a, like, oh, that's Steve Becker. All he does is, won't even listen to me. And when he does, he goes to the superintendent and tells him. Well, I tell him up front I'm going to do that. So, if you all have any other opinion on how you all want to handle that, it's just, we just cannot make promises to people. First of all, it's personnel. Just can't do it.
Well, in my 4 years on the board, I've only had like three phone calls and 2 emails.
You are so lucky.
Yeah, nobody. And they know where I live.
Well, if they come to the house, be careful. But anyways, do you all have any other?
I mean, no, I just assumed that that's how it works. So is that not the case? Is that not the case?
Well, it's not the case with every board member. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
And I'm not saying it's this group. I'm just saying in the past, there have been many that they want to be the person that gets called. They want to be the fixer. I'll take care of that. I'll fix that. And then ultimately, a lot of times that conversation turns around. They can't fix it. And so it puts them in a very bad situation of, oh, I like the call, I like the attention, but it really doesn't get things solved. So I just want Dr. Ross to know that we are obligated as stewards of this school district and part of this board team that he will never be blindsided. He can't say never, but he won't be blindsided. Intentionally.
Well, one of the things I had people, I frequently crack around on Friday mornings with a bunch of guys, and people ask me about things. I said, look, the school board does not handle personnel matters. I said, we are responsible for 2 people. That's the superintendent and the board attorney. That's it.
Well, and then folks to Glenn, they don't understand it. Well, you mean you can't go in Dr. Thomas's office or Dr. Ross's office and just tell them that you need to fix this problem?
The reality is, especially right now, in Danville's current state, is that those problems have so many different sides.
Yeah.
And you may by only hearing one side, you may be advocating for something that is really not a good thing. So you just got to be so careful.
So I just think that, we got to have the boundaries. I don't ever want it to where a teacher or staff member or administrator doesn't have the comfort level to make a phone call. But I also want them to know that as an obligation, as an elected official of this board, that Dr. Ross is our person, and that things need to be settled with him. He's the ultimate say. I know Kim runs HR, but Dr. Ross is the ultimate say. And what goes on with personnel.
Yeah.
And so I just hope you all are okay. And I'm not trying to fuss.
Well, it's the law, right? Like, we have to
Well, it is. And people will say, well, if you don't mention their name, it's okay. Well, it's not okay, because everybody knows this person does this or that person does that. So we just have to kind of stand our ground on that. Dr. Ross, do you have anything you want to add to that? Are you good with just us as board members? I mean, like I said, we're going to get calls. But we just have to be upfront with these folks. Because we can't fix the
The
world.
reality in a small town is that, I mean, one of the principals of one of the schools is my daughter's best friend's mom, right? So like, I'm gonna have contact with this person.
Right.
So I think it's tricky, because I'm going to be contacted by that person, like, probably today, she'll text me about something, not related to schools. But I think it's important, and that we do this, which is what you're saying, that we make it clear that's not our job.
And you just, in a small town, you're right. I mean, we had friends that were teachers and administrators and principals, but you have to have the boundaries.
Oh, yeah.
Steve, I think one of the things you would say from your strength being on the board under different administrations is that from the very onset, we know where he wants to go and how to get there. And it's in writing.
Right.
And that is very, very commendable. It's very positive that we know where he wants to go, but then we gotta know where we need to follow to make sure that the things he put in time, which are within limitations, which are process and procedures that's normal anyway. Hey, let's go. So we have a direction to go, let's just go. And you've seen that. So you've seen different areas, function and non-functionality.
That's right. No, that's true. And it can be very burdensome at times, where you figure, oh, we got another deal going on, and instead of somebody coming to you and talking to you about, man, that was a great play, or that was a fantastic forensic tournament, or whatever it might be, it just seems like we don't hear the positives.
Yeah.
And we haven't heard them for 2 years.
That's true.
And it's toxic. You know, I think we can fix toxic, but it's a hard thing to do. Because I want the positives. I want this community to know that our schools are vital. And it's vital to Danville, just like Earl Coffey was saying about, the importance of keeping, we need kids in the seats. They need our kids to stay in Danville. So somehow we've got to figure out how we're going to make all that happen. I think another thing that we probably ought to cover is...
Hey, hang on. Sorry.
Go ahead.
We asked for Dr. Ross's comments, we didn't let him first.
Well, I think this is putting my principal hat back on. This is one of those areas where I feel very comfortable and confident in, and just knowing those FERPA laws and the rules around confidentiality, and then addressing that in the same way with our, from KSPA and SPDM type rulings and areas around confidentiality, especially area personnel. I know for me, sometimes for folks, I can be hard to read, and by no means am I trying to be dismissive or act as if their concerns are valid, but I have to assure them, and even if that them were you, that we would do everything with due diligence to look into it. However, this is something that I cannot communicate with you on, and it's started moving.
Mm-hmm.
And we need to respect that. And knowing all of you guys, that respect's already there. So it's just something of importance that down the road, that consistency needs to stay. It needs to be consistent.
Sorry for that. One thing I do have, and I know this is something that I'm going to have to grow in, I do have a problem with just random gossip. And I know that's just part of a small town. Steve can tell you, a couple things have come up that have just been so far-fetched.
Yeah.
I mean, really, that is the farthest thing from the truth. So I also want us to understand as well as that this is a cyclical process, that the same way that you guys want to be up on me, I'll be up on you. You know, if I've got an agenda or a plan, like, hey, this is what I'm trying to do. You know, otherwise, whatever else that this is just not.
Y'all should have seen his face. Yeah. Anyways.
In other words, what do you have in Disney World, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
But, no, and Greg assured me, he said that there are going to be decisions he's going to have to make. And he's going to make sure that we know what's going on. But we're not there to tell him, don't do that. We're just there, we need to be advisors. And then do it in a way where he can absorb the knowledge from different points of view, and then ultimately make some really major decisions.
And I promise I will communicate. I promise you.
So, and which was really good to hear. So,
That's one of the things that makes an organization work is communications and being able to listen. When I was learning to be a deacon in the church, as much as I like to run my mouth, I found out one of the key things being a deacon is to shut up and listen. When I learned that, I said, okay.
that's what my wife tells me all the time. But, and I think another thing is, you know, and I know this is crazy, but it really is valid. We need to understand our policies. You know, I mean, there's hundreds of them, and unfortunately, I know a lot of them. But issue being is a lot of times that's your answer. Well, all I can tell you is I'm pretty sure it's in board policy that. And policy's law. It's not just policy. I mean, anything we decide is law. So those are just things that if you're not sure, generally there's a policy that covers it. So and all the policies are available on e-meeting if you need to refer to them. What's that? It changes. Sometimes you add more.
I don't have it. I need to get that.
Do you really want that?
Yeah, I was going to say.
It's underneath my laptop that I use to like lift up my laptop. Yeah, to prop my laptop at home.
But technically, as a board member, you're supposed to get a physical copy of the policy. Technically. Yeah.
I don't have it.
I don't know. I used to have one, but I'm pretty sure it's been shredded.
Inches, yeah.
So, and I guess another thing that, you know, I just want everybody here to know assurances. I can come off kind of cranky at times, and I apologize. But that's sort of just the nature of my beast. But the second that I stepped into Danville, which was way 100 years ago, I fell in love with this place. It's instant. My wife and I were married 7 years when we moved here. She graduated from Danville. In fact, it was the funniest thing. She knew exactly where we were going to live. I said, oh, I don't know about in the country. She said, no, we're not. We're living in the city. And we're going to live here, and this is what we're going to do, and all like that. Because her love of Danville and her siblings all went here is now part of me. So this district has been a huge part of my wife and our kids. So yeah, I can come off a little cross at times or cranky, but we've been here almost 32 years, and we're not planning on leaving. So anyhow, I just hope you all have the same passion for the district.
I'm going to serve. Been gone for a few years. Left in September 1960.
Is there anything else y'all want to cover before we go into the executive session? Okay. All right. Okay. As far as Kim and Susan and Olivia, you all will have to vamoose, and then we'll be in executive session. Vamoose.
Kim's like ready.
Like, yeah.
a motion, please.
I make a motion that we go into executive session to pursue KRS 61.810 and KRS 156.557 for preliminary discussion regarding the superintendent's annual evaluation.
Second. Okay, so we have a motion and a second, and I have a board member that used to say what she said. So anyways, a motion to go into executive session for preliminary discussion regarding the superintendent's evaluation. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries.